Hello everyone, my name is Comrade.
And this is Poujoshy.
Today we have another kind of interview with some fanfic writers and readers. Mandag and Quinn.
Hello.
Good afternoon. I'm British.
Yes, we
I'm
can hear
Norwegian.
that.
Rude.
We've been getting a few requests that we should talk about fanfiction, so we thought why not do it with some people who are either known in the community or reads it a lot and been a original supporter of TwoKinds for quite a while.
And that's the two of us. It should also be noted that Quinn writes a bit of them, and
Yeah,
thought-
I have written fanfictions. I've read a few.
it sounds like you're.
Dear God,
admitting
how
to
did I
guilt.
become internet famous?
It's like, yes, I have written. That's how it feels.
I've got a whole speech on don't write fanfiction if you want to be famous. Ready?
Feels like
But,
it feels odd to have people refer to me as a fanfiction writer. That's I mean, it's true. It's just a strange feeling.
I know. Yeah, I should probably do that more, shouldn't I?
Oh. It make me feel all odd. But yes,
Well,
that's us. I've written more than I'd probably like. I don't know how that happened. It was a happy little accident that all of that just happened to be. But yes, that's the two of us, me and Quinn.
Well, we have a few questions for you, and this one can be you both can answer. What is the fanfiction community like?
I think I don't. I think Quinn's
Disperse.
better equipped to answer that than me because I don't know if it's a strange divide people make between people who write and people who don't, because the only difference is the ability to open a Word document and do this, because as far as I can tell, a lot of people take the ability to write something and publish it as something special, while it really is just you having something to tell and then putting your fingers on the keyboard and then typing the words out. That's the so a writer community feels odd to refer to it to the as
Yeah.
that, because
I mean,
there really is very little difference between the writers and the ones who don't write.
I mean, there's a few big names. I think myself, Mandag, and Menon's also a really big one. He's also written novels, frankly, around TwoKinds.
Yes.
But then you do a search for TwoKinds and fanfiction on any given furry publishing website, and you will have hundreds of results, most of them from different people who've written something.
Yeah, and I think you're better equipped to answer the question than me, because you actually read these things.
You've read some of these things, yes. Yeah.
So I know some of the names. I know LaRouf. There's a guy named Inuyasha, I think, and I know Seth has actually written one, but obviously a lot of this is like, I don't know. I haven't read
Rima Draws.
Yeah,
I know Prof published one, I think Avis Ignis as well. But a lot of these names are people who don't ordinarily write fan fictions. It's something they've done once and thrown something up, which kind of demonstrates your point that anyone can do this.
Yeah, that's. I feel like I'm gonna be spending a lot of time doing, like, what would you call it? Like motivational PSAing.
Oh
it's
yeah,
like, it's not hard if you have something you feel like an interesting concept or a story that you feel should be out there. The only thing stopping you is you.
Yeah.
It's that easy. Well, I'm sitting here saying it's easy, but it really isn't. But it's not that hard to get to open the Word
only
documents.
barrier between you and being a published author is actually doing it, and motivation is difficult. It's non-trivial, because this stuff's, actually continuing to write it and keep going and then editing it a bunch. You're sick of it by the end of it.
Yeah. And
it will,
to answer the question of what the community is like, it's very, very encouraging and very helpful, because anyone who has written and published something will know that the most demotivating thing ever is someone saying you that you did a bad job, um, which or being like, this is not that great. And at least that's what I used to be a little bit afraid of, is when I post something, people are going to be like, what the hell is this cringe? So any writer who has any sort of experience will always be very helpful. And if they find an error in something you write, they will be as gentle as possible in saying, hey, I see what you're trying to do here, but are you sure? And, explain why they think it's an error without telling you that you're garbage.
To go into what might be a later topic, writing is probably only around 30% writing words on a keyboard. The rest of it is going back over it, and if you have someone else to help you, it will be dramatically better.
Yes,
it's mostly editing,
and it's also a lot of gives you a lot of peace of mind to have a second person look at it before you give it out, because when you write something, you feel like you have no idea what you're doing. Like, is this because you don't have the perspective of a reader? You can't tell. Can the reader follow what I'm writing? Does this look like absolute schlock? I can't tell. It looks like schlock to me, but that's because I'm writing it, and you're always your own worst critic. So when you have someone else read it and go, "Oh man, I like
I missed
this
that. I
part,"
didn't understand.
and they tell you that they can follow what you're writing, and then they have some things they point out where they're like, "I think you should rewrite this or rework it in some way." That's very helpful.
One of the big issues you will run into, and one of the big differences between, let's call it, I'll be honest, a good fiction and a bad fan fiction, is the perspective you have on your own story. Because if you reread your own story 10 minutes after you have written it, you will see what you think you wrote. And they're actually quite different. Someone else reading it will see what you actually wrote, what you actually put on pages, not what you wanted to say. But you can also get that by putting it down and coming back to it a month later once you've forgotten what you wrote.
And that's
which I don't recommend.
That's why it's so painful to go back to something you've written yourself a long time ago, because then you see you start seeing all the cracks in it. You see all the things you should have fixed. It
doesn't match your own mental image of what you think you wrote.
This is some real schlock I put out here. Oh my god, how do people like this? And then you have a bunch of people going, "Man, you're really good," and you're just sitting there like, how do people think this is good?
Stereotypes around the furry artist that doesn't understand how people like their art are pretty true for fanfiction writers as well.
Yeah, and you will understand if you ever write something and put it out, and once you've written it, you're like, "Oh man, I'm a god, I'm so good," and then you put it out and you go back to it a week later, and you're just fuck. And
don't do that.
I know that.
Ouch! This is kind of cringe.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I've done that with school projects where we were forced to write entire stories. I think it was like 6 Word document and like pages, 6 Word pages. And I myself thought, okay, this story is fucking great.
It's brilliant. It's amazing. And then you read it and go, what?
I was part of the top 3 people. I was part of the top 3 people writing, so I had to read the entire thing in front of my class. And when I did that, I realized...
This is terrible.
No. This is fucking terrible.
What a horrible demotivation to stop people doing good work.
Yeah. I was just what the fuck was I drunk or something?
Yeah, and I remember back when I started writing, I always looked at the people who did this stuff both with writing and drawing, and I thought, why are they like this? Can't you just like write and then not worry about it? Like, that's what I'm aiming to be like, because it seems so pointless to be good at what you do and then hate yourself for it. But like once I'd spent like half a year doing this, I'm like, now I understand exactly how the artists feel and why they're always so far up their own asses with this, because that's just your mind. That's how it goes.
There is a bit of Dunning-Kruger, which is the effect that if you don't understand something enough, you don't understand how little you know about it. And once you're over that hump of writing, you see all the flaws in your own work, you see all the flaws in everyone's work around you, and you don't understand how people like it.
But to
Don't
bring
be
it back to
dissuaded,
the
though.
to bring it back to the question, in that way, the writing community in TwoKinds, and I believe also in most fandoms, it's very, very positive, because
If people don't
if
like
you present
fanfictions, they don't hang around.
if you present something like this and then someone comes along and just slaps it out of your hand like, what is this? What's this garbage? Then you're not going to continue doing it, because
Yeah.
even if it is even if it is garbage, not that I'm good at being a judge at that, constructive criticism should always be constructive. It's to help you
Yes.
improve and continue doing it. And any writer understands this, or at least I should hope.
Yes.
So if you present something you've written into the community, even I started out in this fandom from 4chan. That's a story of its own, which I'll save for maybe a later question. We have plenty of time, I should hope. So, but even then, everyone keeps thinking that 4chan is the asshole of the internet. Even there, people are very, very helpful when it comes to writing and work in progresses. And if you ask for help, you will get it in this community. It's very, very friendly in that way. I know we already went on like a massive tangent from a very simple question, but
but it is a very large perspective question.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a very broad question that leads to a lot of can lead to a big topic. But to put a period at the end, it's a very nice and helpful community. I'm probably one of the least nice people in it, because I've gone and trashed certain fan fictions that I've tried to read without mentioning any names here. I'm like, I try opening it and I see something that I don't agree with, and I'm like, what is this schlock? Why is this person celebrated? But it's not something I want to get into here.
oh, trust me, I've felt like that with many things before. I've even had it like with books and stuff. It went so far because we were forced into reading a book for school.
Oh,
Yeah, I hate that so much. This book was just absolutely terrible. It had
yeah.
flaws in all ways, so I actually went so far. I found the author's email and I made an entire word page of how shit the fucking book was.
I would also recommend, if you do get forced to read a bad book, understand why. Put why you don't like it or why you think it's bad into a constructive format,
Exactly.
because that will make your arguments better, but also it'll make you a better author and a better reader.
Exactly.
The more you know about something, the more you will be able to understand the concept behind it and how it integrates with everything else, and therefore what makes something good and what makes something bad.
Indeed.
Not just, I don't like this, but also what's wrong with it. I've read some truly terrible novels, which I kept reading just to see if they'd get better or figure out what went wrong.
I once on a yard sale, I bought the book, the famous fabled novel 50 Shades of Grey, because everyone kept memeing about it, and I thought I have to.
On the subject of fanfiction.
It's very well. I had to check what the whole fuss is about, and I think it's the only time I've actually just dropped a novel, because I couldn't. Everyone knows 50 Shades of Grey, that it's basically a porn book. I couldn't even get to those parts of it, because just everything about it was so terrible. It looked like a mediocre Tumblr blog. Like the prose and the way everything was set up.
The language is simplistic. The descriptions are poor. The main character is as undefined as possible, half because it was originally a fan fiction of another book in which the main character was also poorly described.
Wasn't
for
it
the very
the
same
Twilight
reason
fanfiction?
that it's a reader self-insert.
Jesus, why? Those never work. Or rarely, at least.
Yeah, that's a thing. That's the whole point of those books. Is to have men lusting after you.
Whoa.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Doesn't
I
that
think,
put Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey into such a different view?
this is what this podcast is gonna be. It's just gonna
Yeah.
go us going off on like really distant writing tangents.
Yeah.
We
But-
should maybe we should bring it back.
But to finally put the last word in for that question, which we just did, how
Yep.
did you guys discover Two Kinds?
I mean, since Quinn has been here longer than me, he should probably start. I think.
Okay. So given how long I've been in known Two Kinds, I don't know. I can't remember. I think I started reading somewhere around before they reached the Bastion Isles,
God.
but I don't actually know that for sure because it was just a webcomic I had in my webcomics folder because in the early 2000s, webcomics were everywhere and 10 times as popular as they are now.
Yeah.
I think something to do with the internet being slow. You could read a comic page, you couldn't watch YouTube. The internet wasn't fast enough for that.
Everything's just
So
us
for the younger
sounding
viewers, yes, there was a time before the internet.
this is us sounding like the boomers we are, going around like everything used to be so much. Why is everything so fast these days? These goddamn kids.
The Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly.
The Wi-Fi's too
TikToks and their
fast.
Snapchats.
The Wi-Fi's too fast for these days.
So yeah, I don't actually remember when I started reading Two Kinds. I know I got into the fandom as a whole and started taking it more seriously around 2016 when things got interesting with Group B, because I actually find Group B vastly more interesting than Group A.
Group B is Rain and the squad, right?
Yeah. Rain
what
her
was
group.
it that started with them? I think it was before they met Carver, right?
Yeah. This was around the time where Zen had gotten captured, I think.
Oh, that explains a couple things I've read actually. Yeah.
I've written fan fictions around that. Don't worry.
Oh, you have. But let's not get into the details of those.
I may not be able to discuss that in this.
Let's
podcast.
not go into any drama. We really want to keep that stuff out.
Oh, it's not drama. It's just never mind.
No, I'm talking about fan fiction I've written that I'm not allowed to discuss with you.
Even fanfiction drama. Every drama is out of here.
Perfect. So,
for me, I think it was about 3 years ago in the summer of 2017, I think. So I like to partake in the little-known internet forum known as 4chan. They have a hidden board called /trash. I'm not gonna go and explain how 4chan works, but it's essentially whenever a thread that is in some other board is inappropriate for that board, but it's not technically against any rules, the mods have the option to not delete it, but move it to the trash board. Meaning everything that's not wanted anywhere else ends up there. But you could also create your own threads there, which means it ended up as a sort of it basically became the furry board because that's not legal anywhere on 4chan. And they have threads of all kinds of different garbage. Most of it is porn. But they have something called a general, which is a thread that a 4chan thread has on /trash. It has an image limit of 300 or a post limit of 300 posts, and once it goes over that, it eventually gets deleted. Meaning, once you've discussed something for long enough, the thread will eventually die. That's why you have something called the general, which is just once a thread is over, you create a new one, and everyone moves along to that one. So it's like thread after thread after thread, a chain thread, if you will.
Yeah.
So a long time ago, people wanted to discuss Two Kinds, and they found out there was actually enough traction to just make threads one after each other, and thus they created what they called the Two Kinds general. I think that was back in 2016. So anyways, here it was on /trash, as you do, and I kept noticing the Two Kinds general, and they always had as the original post some picture from the comic or fan art or something, and I was like, this looks like this is like a pleasant looking comic. I like these characters, they look cute. And eventually I entered the thread, and they have a a little link to the comic, and then that's how I found it. The first few chapters are. I don't think it's controversial to say that the first few chapters of TwoKinds are not very good. Um, they reminded me of the webcomic Tales Gets Trolled. Uh, if any, I hope someone who listens to this has read that comic, because it is fantastic in the most hilarious, nonsensical kind of way. Uh, but it was not very well drawn and not very well written, if you ask me. But I kept going on because I apparently it got better, and it absolutely did. TwoKinds, that is. Um, I would say if you want to start reading it, you should start at like chapter 7 or something. Uh, because
Page
that's when
250.
I think that's when they introduced Natani.
Yeah. I
And
think
then,
Atani is technically first introduced on 249 or something, and 250 is the point where things become interesting.
yeah, because before that, everything before that is like a fever dream to me. It's like something
Yeah.
scythe, something
It's
neutral.
mostly just building up the characters to become.
It's not even. That's the
Actually,
problem. But the effect that happened there is at approximately the time Natani was introduced, as in within a couple of pages, Tom rewrote the entire story. Which is
Because
why it
that's
takes
when
such a
they get
massive divert. Yeah.
that's when they get their primary objective that
Yeah.
they still haven't reached, which is to reach Linnol,
Linnol.
however you
Yeah.
Lincoln, yeah.
I think Linnol.
And that's like the entire thing
Yeah.
they're doing in the comic. The Bastin Isles was just a little detour because Keith had to bring Trace home with him. I don't even remember. It's been so long.
Yeah, no, that was his motivation, and then
Oh.
it becomes the very model of the ascended side quest that by the time it's over has taken more time than the entire rest of the comic put together.
Yeah. And so you read that, and then the Bastin Isles is, I would say, it's probably the most well written section of the comic. It's very easily to get invested. It's very,
It
emotional.
has
Everything with Keith and his whole the thing he has where you have to choose between his friends and his country and all that, and it's and his
it has
redemption.
characters.
Yes,
that
if you can believe that, there's actual
It has
character writing
characters
happening.
that make decisions, and that's what TwoKinds does really well.
Yeah, at
Yeah.
least in that section, I would say it's like peak TwoKinds, and I think my favorite part is probably the part with Keith afterwards, where he's like grieving over Laura.
Mm.
But the whole Bastin Isles is where it actually starts to get really interesting, if you ask me. And then everything after that moves kind of slow, but it's still something I enjoy.
To bring it round to fanfictions again, given that's the topic of the podcast, the characters making a decision is what makes a good story. It's what TwoKinds is at its very best. It's also what can make a really good fanfiction. A character makes a decision about what they are going to do based on what has happened to them beforehand.
Indeed.
Yeah. So then, that's how I got introduced. This is how you got introduced to the fandom, right?
Yeah.
Or this question. Yeah. So
In short,
I stuck around anonymously, as all people are on 4chan. I stuck around in the general thread, and we started having problems with spammers, because 4chan is very loosely moderated, like very. So if you have someone spamming, there's not actually a whole lot you can do. And then someone went and made a Discord server for it, just for the thread, so people could go to a place where you can actually moderate to get rid of spammers. And that's how the TwoKinds server TKG was created. I think someone invited you there, and then we have an automated welcome message that says this is an 18+ server, and then you just kind of bounced out. That's and also I started writing stories for TwoKinds. I think it was at fall in 2017. but I'd never written anything before, so I was really slow about it, and also really not sure if what I did was good enough, because had this whole vision that if you were going to write something and publish it, it had to be like almost published author level, and I didn't feel I was that good. So I spent a lot of time just not like talking about it and trying to write it, but not feeling it was good enough. Um, then I think once I started publishing things, people asked for a place where they could follow me, and I thought, wait, you actually like this? You want to like
Read more
read
of
more
it?
of it in the future? And so I had to create like an account on Thorofin so people could follow me. And then I eventually joined the TKG Discord, and from there I found the other Discords, and I eventually joined those two. I've never been to the forums. I've looked at them before. It doesn't really see. I generally have a dislike of forums. I feel they're too heavily moderated, without getting into specifics. So and I look at it and it just does not seem like my kind of place. So I'll stick to the Discords. This place seems nice too. The little TwoKinds podcast one. So I think I'll stick around and vibe here. And that's me and the community.
Well, that's always nice. So, in short, basically, you was on 4chan, discovered it, and then this Discord stuff and blah 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 happened.
Yeah, it was a way too long description, but you know,
Yeah. It's okay. It's
that's
okay.
that's me.
Okay. What response has there been to the different kinds of fanfiction? From what you guys know, at least.
Generally positive, I would say. I mostly just monitor the response to my own, and usually when people read something they don't like, they're just like, yeah, all right.
You'll get a lot of wherever you publish something, you'll get a huge number of views and a very low comment ratio, probably even lower than a lot of art.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah.
I've
That's just the internet.
I've noticed a surprising difference in response to safer work stories and not safer work stories, though. And you'd be surprised, but in the TwoKinds community, you get a much better response from silly, fun stories, or touching, warm stories, or stories with character and plot than you do for just straight up porn.
I feel like I've gotten mostly the same sort of response from safer work and not safer work, but that might be because when I write not safe for work stuff, I put like a huge amount of weight on the story and stuff surrounding surrounding the lewd parts.
Yeah, there's an element of
so-
embrace what you're going to do with the story.
Literally, I read it for the plot.
Yes. And the direction that this plot happens, the characters end up having sex.
Yes,
That
that's
happens,
just
and it's there.
that's just how it be. But yes, it's mostly as I actually should have mentioned that, but what Quinn said about the comments, because for some reason I had this expectation that people are going to give me feedback on everything, but no, actually, sometimes you get feedback, but that's like rare. Maybe one or two comments on something you spent a month making, and then a few favorites and a bunch of views, and then you get, at least I did get the impression that no one really cared when I wrote things. Like I'm just yelling into the void and then nothing's coming back. I think it was when I joined Rain's server actually that someone just out of the blue reposted one of my stories, and they were like, "Man, I just found this really good little thing." I think it was a story I wrote about Clovis. And I was like, "Man, this is a really good story about Clovis." And I'm like, "Hey,
Hi.
that's hello. Allow me to introduce myself. I was the one who wrote it." And they're like, "Oh my god, you wrote it!" And I was so surprised because I thought this, like, the only people who had seen this were people from 4chan, like, because I was around there. And I'm like, "Oh no, people who don't know me at all have read these things. What the hell?"
For everyone that comments, there are a huge number of people invested and waiting for the next bit or the next story you write.
Yeah.
So,
but not
word
enough
to
people
people who
say
do that.
it for you to think you care.
Leave comments or contact the author and tell them you really like their story. There is nothing that will motivate them to write the next one more than telling them you liked the previous one and you really want to read more of it.
Exactly. And when people click the favorite button, it's it's nice to see the number go up. You now have 150 favorites in total. Yay! But it doesn't feel personal in the same way that someone giving you a comment where it's like, man, I really loved the atmosphere in the first part, and then how it all concludes at the end. And I really hope to see more. That feeling is unparalleled when you read something like that. And when people say like, comment, and subscribe, the comment part, it really is the most important bit, because it really sells that there's a person writing this who legitimately wants to see more.
Yeah.
Much more than the the number going up. Uh, Even though that's nice too. The comments fuel me more than anything else. I'm a feedback junkie. So the to directly answer the question, the response is positive, but a lot of the time you don't feel it unless people send you comments. Uh,
Put a
Yeah.
name to what's going on
Put a
and
name
say,
and
hey, I like this. Spend more than a few seconds clicking a button.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Comments are very much more personal than just a number.
yeah, and I get the feeling
It's
that
just right that you really liked it.
that too. I get the feeling that some people think writers and artists already get so much response that their voice won't really get noticed. If I see that I've gotten a new comment, I click that shit instantly. Not that I'm mega popular or anything, but if I go see my total comments received go up from 60 to 61, I'm on that instantly.
You have gotten my attention.
You already have my attention. If you show me any sort of, like, if you show me that you've seen something, then I will know.
I mean, we've only got 3 comments on our podcast, but when I
Well, your
woke up,
podcast is 2
but
days old,
You
so
read all of it.
you mean 6 days? Soon
6
7.
days.
Soon 7.
Yes, but the point is we're talking days and not
Yes.
years.
Yeah.
Like, but when I got those, when I saw we got some comments, the first thing I did, like, I was lying in bed. I literally just woke up. It was the first thing I did. I didn't care about me getting up. I didn't care about anything. I was just press the thing and read them.
Yeah, the feedback is a drug, unlike anything else. It's almost dangerous how addictive it is to see feedback. That's like almost half the reason I sometimes occasionally write things, is wondering how people will think about the thing I wrote. And I know that's not a motivation a lot of people have. A lot of people have a story in their head that they want to get down on paper, and then they don't always care what people think about it. At least I've worked together with writers who think that way, and I'm like, but that's like half the fun, seeing people respond. But then again, everyone motivates themselves differently, or at least a lot of them do.
Like, getting a response is just really, really important. If you ask me, it's really motivation.
The dopamine rush.
It's the most motivation
Yeah.
you can get.
I've got loads of stories in my head. I'm sure lots of other people do. And they're fine to sit there forever. The point of writing a story is to tell it to other people. And to actually hear that other people enjoyed that story.
It's to tell them to other people and know that they understand it. And the tricky part, the really, really tricky part of writing, is getting them to visualize it the same way that it's in your head. And
Yeah.
when you're really invested in a story that you have inside your head, you almost put yourself in the perspective of the characters. You feel what they're feeling, and you want to transmit that to people. And that's the hard part of writing. That's why you sit there going over it over and over again. And that's why it's so important to have a proofreader or an editor, so you can tell if you're transmitting it correctly. And your proofreader doesn't even have to be a good writer. Of course, Quinn is a good writer, but my point is that just having a second pair of eyes to see if you're
someone
doing the
else
right thing.
see the difference between what you think you have written and what you have written.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I was
that's
actually
why the
that will-
response is so important.
I was actually thinking about getting one for that with the podcast things here, so someone could say, okay, I like that or something like that, and try to do that better next time or something. Because currently, again, we don't get much respond in what we're doing here. We just get, yeah, nice job.
Yeah, you. It would be immensely helpful to have someone who you trust who can just watch it and go, "You made a mistake here, here, and here."
Mm.
Yeah.
I just can't get anyone in my in real life because I'm not only getting burned alive because of the heat wave, I'm also being burned alive by the people who want to slaughter the furries.
Yeah.
That is
I,
overhyped, I think.
I don't know if the whole persecution thing is as
I know,
quite
but
as
basically everyone in my class just yells, "Kill the furry."
No, Jesus. I don't. I have a feeling it's more of a meme to them.
I know,
you know,
but
Yeah.
still.
You would never hear the end of it. Is your point that if
Yeah.
if you told them you're a furry, they would be like, "Oh, look at the guy. Oh, when you see a dog, do you feel like?"
Yeah.
exactly.
It would be annoying.
Like,
to hear
no,
people
I'm
for
not
so
gonna
time.
fuck a dog.
I'm thinking the same.
School children are horrible. More at 11.
I'm like, yeah. So what? I like animal, like human, like animal characters. What's wrong with that? Do do you like a cat in a, for example? Let's say, do you like a cat in real life? Yeah, that's also kind of furry, huh? It's yeah.
Everyone
just-
likes.
At least I know
I
my
know.
3D boys aren't real.
I know it's not really the same, but still. It's the idea of just people being like, haha, kill them, and it's just it's
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
especially since
yeah.
I just became a furry like 3 months,
From
3
reading
weeks,
to
months.
Oh yeah,
Why am I saying months? 3 weeks. There we go. I go.
time moves fast,
Yes, it does.
way too fast. But yes, the community response positive, but not as there's not as much talking to each other as people would expect.
Mm.
Very little. You click the button to show that you liked it. That's
Yep.
then the author knows you liked it, right? And it's like, yeah.
Leave a comment.
Yeah,
It-
like that's why I
Like,
always encourage people to give us response. But again,
But-
we've only got one guy who actually gave us suggestions.
The like and subscribe is a meme
the
for a
comment part
reason,
is the
but really, if you want to show appreciation to someone whose work you enjoy, leave a comment.
that's
Especially if there aren't any other comments, but even if there are lots.
yeah. I actually like what was it, a week ago? I got a new comment on like a really old story. I was like, oh my god, people still read these? Hell yeah!
I'm
what was the name?
famous. Alright.
It's- yeah, I'm fucking thicker than water. Can you believe it? But I still always reply, and I think it's a bit of a stereotype to have the author or the artist who gets overly attached to anyone who shows them attention. But man, if you've ever worked really hard on something and then see that someone else sees the same thing in it as you did when you wrote it, you will know why people get so attached. Because man, it's a very very powerful drug to get positive feedback on something you've done, even if you made it 2 years ago. Especially if you made it that long ago, because that means people still care, even though you don't.
No.
Mm.
Yeah, it means people still enjoy your older works.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But yes, positive response is what we can say.
I don't
And
think we
that's
can.
why I wish there was more.
I mean, we have 2 questions left. We were already at the 39 minutes mark now, but
Oh my god, is there a time limit?
no. There's no time limit. I'm just making sure you guys have time for this, so we don't like go 2
Yeah,
hours
no,
or
we're
something.
I'm good.
Okay.
I do think I have to eat soon, so.
Okay. Damn. Then we have a little
Ah.
time limit, I guess.
Oh god.
Why did you guys begin making fanfictions?
That's well, I guess I can start. I think it was in the threads. Whenever you have a concept for something, like a scenario with different characters or anything at all, you type it out in bullet points. And when I say bullet points, I mean green text.
Yeah.
which is just a very quick outline of actions happening or characters doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I did that a couple of times, and then a few of those times people responded with, "Hey, someone should write a full story about this." And I eventually got tired of people saying that because I'm like, "Geez, if you want a full story, can't you just fucking write it?
Yeah.
Can it be that hard?"
Do it yourself.
Yeah, and then I thought,
Yeah.
"Hey, can it really be that hard?" And I had this whole concept of, I think it was Clovis. If all people here have read the Dragon Masquerade, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
There's a footnote there at the end where with Clovis always still hides her form, and she's
Yeah.
mysteriously absent every fall and every spring. And I was like, I
Yeah.
wonder what happens in that time span. So I started writing a story of what does happen every fall and spring with Clovis, or at least the first one. And then I was planning to have it be a really short one, like a really nice little short story. It ended up being, what was it, 32,000 words long.
I
And
think
I
it's on
ended
the
up,
lower end of novel.
yes, depending on some definitions, it can be counted as a novel. I spent over a year writing it, and I ended up concluding that yes, it is actually that kind of hard when you really care about the story you're writing.
Yeah.
I also
You
did a
don't.
couple of other ones in the meantime while I was working on that.
If anyone would like to write a novel or write a fanfiction, so you don't have to write an entire novel, nor start
No.
off with it.
That was an accident. That
Yeah.
happened on accident.
This
But-
can happen with writing. You just keep writing.
Yeah, and
Mm.
that's the dangerous part of it, is that you get so like invested in the quality of it that you're just never happy with it properly, and then you show a work in progress to someone else, and they're like, "Dude, this is like better than 90% of the stuff I've read."
Here, let me edit it and make it vastly better. Now publish that shit.
That's what me and Quinn do to people.
Yes.
But the thing is, I just thought, hey, if so, no one else is gonna do it, someone will have to do it, right? Because this is a nice little bullet point concept I've come up with, and then people keep saying, "Oh man, someone should write a story about this," and I said, "Okay, well, I can try. I've never done writing before, but I can give it a shot, I guess."
So basically, oh fuck you, lazy asses! I'm gonna do it.
Yes, and I consider myself to be quite lazy in real life, but somehow this worked out.
Oh,
Because
I know that. I'm one of the most laziest people in the entire world, and I'm here making a fucking podcast.
Yeah.
yes, uh, so that's how I started writing. It was just, oh, for fuck's sake, can you not do it yourself? Fine, I'll do it. I'll do it. Watch
Fine,
me.
I'll do it myself.
Fine, I'll do it. This is that was me with writing, and then I found out how fun it is to make something, because I don't think I've gotten such genuine compliments from anyone in my life from when I published my first story. I think it was I think it was like 10,000 words long thing about Keith and Natani, and people were like, "Oh my god, I like this," and I just responded with, "Wait, really, you do?" Uh, and that was really eye-opening that I could make something that people enjoyed. And once you give that, once they give you that first shot, you're hooked on feedback and making something that other people genuinely like. And then I just continued and never really stopped properly. So and it's that easy. All you have to have is, all you need is a concept that you want to see finished, and then you need Microsoft Word or some other. Quinn just writes on paper with this unintelligible handwriting, uh, and
I wrote all of my stories on a reporter's notebook with
yeah,
a pen.
that's all you need. Just a good story inside your head and a notebook, and then
handwriting.
a lot of motivation.
Yeah, do it.
Boom. It's I would say it's not hard, but once you get into it, it is actually kind of hard to, actually finish what you start. But starting is, at least to me, it wasn't the difficult part. You'd be surprised if you just sit down and start somewhere.
The real trick is learning to pick up a story you've started earlier.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
if you really motivated to finish the story, if
Can.
it sticks in your head that well, then you will, even if it's really dreary work. I know Clovis Inferno really took a long time and work to finish.
Mm.
And if I go back to read it, I will probably hate it for being not as good as I wish it was. But at least I finished something and got it out there, and a lot of people apparently like it somehow.
Yeah.
And that's my origins. I don't know if Quinn's is different.
So I have a PhD. I wrote a thesis that's nearly 200 pages long, and
Jesus.
it took me more than a year to write it. And at the end of it, I was sick of it. And
Understandable.
Yeah, I had been
Jesus
writing extremely technical scientific material for a year straight, and I wanted to write something that wasn't technical. I wanted to write something for pleasure and for fun, and so I picked up some silly ideas and stories I had in my head of TwoKinds characters and went, let's roll with it.
Just go nuts.
Yeah.
Is that
I knew I could
the
do
week
it.
after one?
Two kinds endgame.
I started with a week after, then went into other things. Then I started a story series that honestly is a terrible demotivation, because on days where I don't want to write one of my story series, I feel guilty for not doing so and don't write at all.
Yeah, because you have those comments asking, "Hey, when's the next part? I really love
I
this."
have
and
people
you're sitting
asking
there,
whether the next part's going to be out. I'm like, I've written more than half of it.
Yeah.
I just
gotta
keep going
find-"
back over. I've got stories I've written 90% of and never finished because I
Yeah.
can't get it just quite right enough.
Hmm. I'm a little different from you in that regard, because I've seen, like, we write in
Yeah.
Word docs, and I've seen your first drafts versus your like actual finished product, and it is like day and night difference.
I write absolute shit.
Yeah,
And no, you haven't seen my first draft. You've seen my second drafts.
oh god, yeah, I'm
Because
trying
I
to be,
write them out on paper first,
I'm trying to be polite,
then I
but
transpose them to a computer, then I make them not terrible.
yeah,
But
I think
I-
the difference is that I try to write them as good as possible on the first way through, and that's why I never get anything done, because I
Yeah.
open it and just the words won't flow, and then
I
I'm just like, "Ah,
suffer
let me just
terribly from, I don't know what you want to call it, the
that
brain
makes
freeze you get staring at an empty page.
Oh.
think
I
that's,
legitimately have an easier time writing it on a smaller page than on a bigger page.
I actually I have the opposite problem, where if I'm looking at an empty page and I want to start up a story, I'm just like, let's go.
Words.
But if I look at a page full of stuff I wrote a week ago, and I'm like, okay, let's pick this back up, that's the worst. Because I look at it and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking writing this?
Yeah.
But looking at an empty page, I have my work cut out for me. I'm going. I'm already in there.
So, know your own demons, know what makes you tick and what makes you not tick, and find a way around it, because writing a story is something everyone can do. It's just a matter of motivating yourself to do it.
Yeah.
And I think, to continue with the motivating stuff, it's the bar, as I think you talked about it at the start of the podcast. The bar for fanfiction is not terribly high. The when people open the fanfiction, they're not expecting Dostoevsky. You won't be letting a lot of people down if it's not like Shakespeare or
Yeah.
Yeah.
people go there and they just expect to read the story. They don't really care that much if the prose is sparkling.
Perfect.
Uh,
Give someone an idea of a thing happening with these characters.
and then if
And-
you're really good, then people will notice. But if you're not that good, then it's not a huge
You're
problem.
not going to get hate or
because-
anything, but
yeah, you're
people are
not gonna
still going to
get hate
enjoy
from
it.
Mm.
That's a very important thing to remember, because if you put something out there and it's like the grammar is all out of whack and stuff like that, people might point it out, but they'll only do it so like out of love because they want to see you improve.
Yeah.
Or most people. I know it's the internet, so there's always a chance there's gonna be some dick who's like,
Yeah,
Yeah, and
but that's
Of course, it's internet, for fuck's sakes.
and then we're talking about Mandag, who started on 4chan and found it to be wholesome and supportive.
yeah. Like I don't think I've had anyone open. Well, maybe I've been there for a long time, so I might be misremembering, but I don't think I've had anyone uh, open anything I've written and then read it and go, man, this was bad. Um, at worst, people will go, hey, I think the part where you did this and that could be improved, and then they put out arguments for why you should improve it. I think to put an example, I made a work in progress of the Clovis story I was writing originally, and they had a huge problem with my depiction of Kydron towns,
Yeah.
because I wrote it much more barbaric than it was in the final version, and they put forth arguments with like references to the comic of, hey, we've seen a Kydron village here and they're not animals, you idiot. And I was like, oh, I mean, you're right. And then I went and changed it after having a little back and forth. It's very constructive that way, and this is 4chan we're talking about, and there's a lot of stigma against 4chan. I think a lot of it is very much wrong. They're not they're very straightforward, often to a brutal extent. But that's both an upside and a downside for some people.
Yeah.
There's a reason I prefer that place over most other forums and other places to discuss. So yeah, if you want to start. If you want, like, you could always find someone who's experienced with writing. If you want some, like, not professional, but an experienced pair of eyes on it. But a work in progress that you just throw out there doesn't hurt either. Also, there's some extra comfort in doing it on 4chan because you're anonymous.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
don't attach your name to whatever schlock you put out on your first attempt. There's also the old proverb of no one starts out good. Like, if you start out and you continue for half a year, you're gonna look back and think you were horrible. That's just going to happen. But
Yeah.
really, most people don't care that much about the quality of what you write.
The honest truth is, if you want to write a good fan fiction, you start out by writing 5 terrible ones.
You start out by what?
Writing 5 terrible ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You don't get good because you were naturally talented and you just wrote something amazing from the beginning.
Haha, I just wrote Harry Potter in my first try.
Hey, I mean, if
Hey.
you start there, then I'm sure there are really good Harry Potter fan fictions too. It's
Yeah,
just-
but you aren't gonna get a masterpiece just in one
Yeah.
try. You aren't.
No famous artist ever started out good.
Yeah.
exactly.
They started out bad and kept going until they were good. And that is true of the furry fandom of TwoKinds. TwoKinds is an excellent example, in fact. It's shit for the first couple of years. And
Yeah.
then it got good. Because he kept at it. And he kept making it.
Yeah, that's if I'm gonna give Tom one big compliment, it's his perseverance. Like, he made something that was kind of trash, and then he stuck with it until he got good. And that's like big applause to Tom for
Yeah.
Yeah.
for
I
that.
was sticking
Sure.
with it.
He's a very, very determined man.
Yeah, indeed. Well,
So yes, you had like one more question, I think.
no.
Yeah.
That's it.
Ah,
All right.
how long has this been?
For almost 45 minutes, 55.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
long enough.
55. Jesus.
Yeah.
Near an hour.
Well, it was
Well,
more you guys doing the podcast today, but yeah.
We're just taking it over.
Yeah. Welcome to new owners here.
Oh no, it's too much responsibility, man.
Well, at least hope you
Sorry,
guys
never getting
enjoyed
done
being.
now.
I at least hope you guys enjoyed being here.
Oh yeah, I
It
have
was
Yeah,
been.
that was fun.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was really fun to like hear the stories from another perspective and another kind of the community. Because as I said, I have not really been that much into the fanfiction part. I've read a few of yours, but
Go read The Father, then stop and don't read anything else I've ever written.
Father is really good. You almost won the contest in Rainser with that, didn't you?
Yeah, then someone else did a really amazing rock song.
It's Felix Sparta, right?
What?
Did that?
Felix, yes, that's him.
insert
Uh,
rock
And just
music.
blew The Father out the water. Okay,
Yeah,
I was gonna lose to something. It was to that.
I think I went and edited that, and you were like in a panic because you wanted to write
Yes.
the entire thing in 1 month.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
was like,
didn't
"Alright,
write it
fine,
in
I'll
1
edit it."
month. I wrote it in a week.
Holy shit.
And
But
like all of my best work, it was written in an airport.
it's to give a synopsis. It's the story of how Maeve came to be the snow leopard girl,
And to a great degree, why Maeve came to be.
I think I slapped you on the wrist there because you put all of Adira's backstory into like a 2-page.
I knew it was
little
gonna have to
plot
be there and work around, but that's me going, I want this to be in the story.
and I was like,
Now I'm
hey,
going to make it work.
Yeah. Well, I think that's gonna be it for today. I think we all are running out of time right now. So,
Alright then.
Yeah.
well, again,
do
thank
we
you so
have
much
some
for
sort of
being on the.
outro?
Again, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's actually really been fun. I've been really enjoying hearing these stories from you guys.
Oh, I thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I'm gonna, if you guys want a few fan fictions in the description, then send one over to me and I'll put them down for you guys.
All right,
Yeah, okay.
I could pick out some of my mine.
Some of your greater ones.
Okay, I have like 3 of them that are.
The sacred texts.
Yes. The holy texts. Well,
Holy sacred Jedi texts.
yes.
Page turners they are not.
The only thing we should not do is just burn them. That won't be a good idea.
Sometimes it feels like it though. When I look back at them.
Well,
I mean, hey, I can actually burn mine because I wrote on paper.
oh yeah.
First.
That is true. Well, again, thank you so much for being here, guys. Everyone listening, thank you so much. Or watching, I don't know what you guys are doing, but thank you so much. If you guys want to join the Discord, you are all welcome. Please check out these guys' fanfictions. They're amazing from what I've both heard from other people and also read a little bit. And if you have any suggestions for us, please go into Discord, type some suggestions, or just do it in the comments. See ya.